For my character presentation, I decided to diagnose Elsa from Frozen with persistent depressive disorder. Elsa grew up in a royal family. She was born with special power that allows her to turn things into ice. Her and her sister were playing when she was younger, and Elsa struck Anna with her magical powers, which left her in critical condition. For years, she felt as though she had to be trapped in her room. And after her parents passed, this took a psychological toll on Elsa. Socioculturally, she has a lot on her plate. Because her mother is dead, she is the next in line to become the queen. She carries all of this pressure on top of not being able to control her emotions and powers. She feels helpless. There are 3 differential diagnoses that in some way did not meet the criteria, but at first I thought would be a good candidate for Elsa. The first one was major depressive disorder. This ended up not being a match because of the criteria in the DSM. To have this disorder, you must have 5 or the more following symptoms: depressed mood most of the day, diminished interest or pleasure in most things, weight loss, insomnia, psychomotor retardation or agitation, fatigue or loss of energy, feelings of worthlessness, diminished ability to think, and thoughts of death or suicide. Elsa was only a match for the depressed mood most of the day, the diminished interest or pleasure in most or all things, and feelings of worthlessness. Because she only had 3 of the symptoms, she does not meet this diagnosis. The second differential diagnosis that I thought about for Elsa was other specified depressive disorder. This ended up not matching Elsa because of the criteria for this disorder. The criteria include recurrent brief depression, short duration of depressive episodes, and depressive episodes with insufficient symptoms. The first 2 do not fit Elsa because she has symptoms of depressed moods that last longer than either of these disorders constitute. The disorder says that it should be brief, but Elsa felt depressed for multiple years. The second criteria for this disorder is that the depressive episode with insufficient symptoms says that people are put here when they're unable to fit into any other category in the DSM-5, which Elsa does because I'm diagnosing her with persistent depressive disorder. The third differential diagnosis was depressive disorder due to another medical condition. I thought that this one might be a good diagnosis for Elsa at the time because of the fact that although she doesn't have a real medical condition, she does have superpowers that allow her to turn things into ice. Now, if she was a real person who this was like a logical sort of medical condition, then I would put her in this category. But because she is a fictional character and the fact that powers from your hands do not exist, I would not put her in this disorder. The criteria for this disorder include persistent depressed mood, which she does match, evidence of medical condition, which she does not because she's a fictional character and her medical condition is fictional, disturbance not better explained by another mental disorder, and the disturbance causes clinical distress or impairment in social functioning. The DSM diagnosis for persistent depressive disorder were the following. You must meet 2 out of all of the criteria to be diagnosed with this disorder. The criteria is as goes. Depressed mood for most of the day for at least 1 year, because Elsa was a child when this occurred. You must meet 2 out of the 6 symptoms, which include poor appetite, insomnia, low energy, low self-esteem, poor concentration, and feelings of hopelessness. Elsa met 3 of the 4. Elsa met symptom 3, 4, and 6. Elsa never had a manic episode. She does not seem to have a psychotic disorder, better explained. She does not use substances, and her symptoms did cause impairment in her social life. So to meet all of this criteria, she met 2 out of what she was supposed to meet. So I am diagnosing Elsa with persistent depressive disorder. There was a study that looked at the diagnosis and treatments for apathy and persistent depressive disorder. The study shows that apathy normally occurs after having PDD, although the apathy part of this study does not pertain to Elsa. The persistent depressive disorder does. So what they found out was that they figured that the best treatment supported by evidence was a combination of psychotherapies, so cognitive and behavioral therapies, interpersonal therapies, etc., and medications, particularly serotonin, norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, because they tend to be more tolerated than some of the other medications that you can give. And it emphasized mainly that to treat persistent depressive disorder, the best mix is both the psychotherapy and the medication, not just one or the other. And lastly, here are my references.